Two families had gone into Hardy Hospital and walked out with each other's babies. Bob and Barbara Mays, who had one child, Kimberly. The other family was Regina and Ernest Twigg. They had 6 children, including baby Arlena. They were discharged on the same day, but traveled very different paths.
When the Twiggs were discharged from the hospital, the doctor in Wauchula told them they needed to take Arlena to a specialty hospital that dealt in pediatric cardiac illnesses.
Arlena only had 1 working valve out of 4. And the doctors told Regina that if they had waited 1 more day, the baby would have been dead.
She had pneumonia. They put her on antibiotics, and this saved her life, and she rallied. She was very, very spunky. Just a precious, precious baby girl.
She had to give Arlena heart medicine 3 times a day. They actually said whether this child lives or dies will depend on how carefully you monitor the condition and medicate her.
She was very fragile. When you put your hand on Arlena's back, you could feel her heart beating. It was very scary because we didn't know from one day to the next, are we going to lose her too?
Meanwhile, the Mays family is flourishing.
They had a beautiful baby and they were doing well.
We just had a wonderful time with Kim. We took her everywhere we went and dressed her and showed her off, and we're just as proud as we could be of her.
18 months after giving birth, Barbara Mays was diagnosed with advanced stage 4 ovarian cancer, which was a death sentence.
Soon after, Regina received a phone call. A woman said, "Mrs. Twigg, you may not remember me, but I had a baby at the same time you had a baby in Hardy Memorial Hospital."
Regina called me and she said, "I had a really strange phone call. This woman called me and she said we were in the hospital together. And she said, I was thinking, wouldn't it be nice if our babies could get together and play together?" She said, "That'd be fine." She gave her address. She said, "Well, we'll try to get over there to see you." And I said, "Well, that's strange. Can't imagine somebody calling you and asking you that." Then Regina calls me sometime later and she said there was an odd car out front of our house. It was white. They had a little screen porch on the front of the house, and Arlena was out there in a little playpen playing with some toys. And they were just sitting there watching the house. And she said she looked out a couple of times, they were still there. Maybe this is the woman that called me, maybe they'd like to come in. So she went out to talk to them. And they drove away. This is not things she told me later. She called me and told me right after they happened.
Regina doesn't know it then, but that phone call, years later, will be the key to unlocking the mystery.
Barbara Mays died in March of 1981. Kimberly was just over 2 years old, and of course, so was Arlena.
She couldn't run and play like everybody else. If she overexerted herself, her fingertips would turn purple and her lips would turn purple because the heart wasn't strong enough to support the activity.
My mom would let her skate a little bit. She loved to skip, but that was about all that she could do. I remember Mom telling her, "You need to settle down, you need to calm down, you need to go sit down." I remember we had this large tree on the side of the house. It was huge, and we all climbed it. She's like, "I'm gonna climb that tree." And I'm like, "Sweetheart, you can't climb that tree." And she turned around and looked at me and was like, "But why not?" And I said, "Well, you're special." She would cry and say, "I don't want to be special. I want to be normal like everybody else."
All she wanted was to be normal. She begged for that. That's all she ever begged for, was just let me be a normal little girl. She
started to gradually go downhill. her heart was struggling.
She was tired. Her lips seemed more purple.
She was struggling with schoolwork. Because of the lack of oxygen, it was starting to affect her memory.
She was 9 years old, and she was becoming weaker and weaker.
The doctor had told us that after a certain point in time, they wouldn't operate. So we decided on surgery on her heart, and we set the date.
In preparation for the surgery, Arlena's blood was typed. They learned that Arlena had a B blood type. It is impossible for O-type parents to have a natural B-type child.
I didn't know what to think. I just could not understand, why is she a B positive when my husband's an O positive and I'm an O negative? The record said O positive on the baby we'd given birth to.
What they've just found out has already rocked their world, but it is nothing compared to what they're going to learn with the genetics test. They took the genetics test at Johns Hopkins.
Dr. Wilma Bias, the head geneticist at Johns Hopkins, told us of the results. She said, Mr. and Mrs. Twigg, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but the test results have proven that Arlena is not linked genetically to either one of you. I went into total shock, and my husband turned white. He almost passed out. And Mrs. Wilma Bias was going on and on about the results of the test, and I'm trying to listen to her, and I'm going back into this shock and just struggling through all this horror. You know, oh my God, no, no, no. The whole gamut of thoughts went through my head. She has to be mine, she has to be mine. In the hospital, on the little card on the bassinet, it said Baby Twigg. All right, where is Baby Twigg? And then I had to accept it. We said that she would always be our daughter and that we would always love her, and we will till we die.
They knew they wanted to look for their long-lost child, but for now their focus had to be on Arlena. She was facing a life-or-death operation.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.